Good morning, friends. Happy Monday. It's so good to see you today. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I get to be your on-camera facilitator. And then you have Team Jennifer on the call. Jennifer Kribner is going to be hanging out in the chat. She's popping on to give you a wave. And she was gone last week. So we didn't have our normal Monday morning Team Jennifer. So we're really glad to be reunited today. And it's so good to see familiar names in the chat this morning. Y'all, normally the fall back time change, I just love it. You get that you gain that hour. I am not feeling that gained hour this weekend. I don't know what's going on. How about y'all? Are you sleepy? Are you with it? This time change has gotten me this time. I don't know. But really, really glad to welcome in a new week with you all. So make sure your chat is set to everyone. And of course, we've got our Monday crew. We are used to seeing those names in the chat. And yeah. Oh, Maggie. Well, you know what, Maggie? You slept for 10 hours. You needed it, right? Like we don't feel guilty about that. I used to feel so guilty if I slept in. It's like, no, that is rest is an activity and your body needed that. So be gentle with yourselves as we figure out getting our bodies realigned with the clocks. Yeah, so if there's anybody here for the first time, please drop a me in the chat because we just all want to give you a really big welcome. And then again, make sure your chat is set to everyone. That's how we'll communicate with each other. You are probably ready. You know what you're going to do in your journal, but you've kept this appointment with yourself. We're very honored for that. I'm seeing some birthday folks in the chat. So happy birthday to our November birthday babes. And oh, Eileen, that's hilarious. You were way off with your with your time change. Yeah, like first time I've ever been early for something. That's kind of how I feel. Yeah, I love this little graphic that I put. Y'all know we all love to throw these fun quotes and graphics in, but I like go make stuff today. Make coffee, make a ruckus, make a difference, make a memory, make time for someone or something you love. The world needs makers, and I love that. Like we're going to be makers of kindness through those things that we do. So there are the community guidelines. I think most of us are, we know this stuff. We've been here, and you're back. You may be tuning in on the YouTube channel and watching a recording of this. I'll say welcome to you as well. And just a reminder for you all that you can access this social as well as 1,000 plus other socials at any time. And I was saying you can do the search tool in that YouTube channel and, like we just did resilience, we just did bravery. And if you have like times that are tough and maybe, I need a refresh on that resilience, put that in the search box and then you can pull up the socials that were done on like the resilience prompts and you could sit with those prompts again and maybe be reminded of how resilient you are. So you can always go back and search some of those topics because like you never know. Like maybe going through the month of bravery, you did it, but it you just did it. And then you need to be brave and you need to have that reinforcement. And so you can go pop that in there and go work some of those journal prompts and sort of remind, you of how brave you are. So anyway, I love that we can search through those things. All righty, friends, be kind whenever possible. And it is always possible. This is going to be a really good theme, a really fun theme. I love that it hit in November with our mindset of gratitude and Thanksgiving. World Kindness Day is November 13th. So you might want to make a notation of that, which I love. And then let's get into our morning together. We're going to do our kindness mind map. You'll be setting your page up for 4 weeks this month. And I've got, I'll show you how I set mine up. Rosebud Thorn reflection over what the past week brought us, and then our weekly setup pages. And then look at that. Kindness is free. So sprinkle that stuff everywhere. And I'll tell you what, if you need a little kindness in your life, show up to one of these community events because the Sonder family really does provide the best kind of sprinkled kindness you'll ever find. So I'm going to invite you now to turn to a blank page, or maybe you're going to use your weekly scratch pads. I turn to the back of my journal. We are going to take this month to explore the quiet yet powerful strength that lives within you. We often think of kindness as grand gestures, but it's so much more than that. It's the inner anchor. Think of that image of an anchor, of empathy that connects you to others. And then the wisdom that you gain from having moments of genuine connection, and then the light you carry that can also illuminate the paths for others. So, that kind of internal stuff, what happens there, and then how we connect to the external world and beyond our immediate community. So these prompts are going to help you look at kindness not as just a simple action, but as a valuable practice that shapes past, present, and future self. So, week one, and y'all, I love the images that are associated with this week's mind map, and I actually have used those to set my mind map up. But week one, our first week, we're going to just look at specific acts of kindness given or received from your past, what that might bring an instantly, that will bring you a warm smile, grateful smile, makes you just happy for that memory. Think of specific times, places, or people that brought that smile or ache. Sometimes we get that nostalgic, melancholy longing in our hearts. It could be, think back like childhood summers and old friendships and family rituals. First loves, think songs that transport you back. Think about those kindnesses. And there's our the words blown up a little bit bigger, but I love this, this quote from Aesop, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Here's my page. Like I said, I use those images on the mind map to set mine up. Again, you can do this anywhere. And I always say, I like to designate the spaces. And I was sharing, sometimes I use my driver's license to create spaces, or cookie cutters. I use the star and the heart were cookie cutters, and then the others were free drawn. And I keep an old lid in my desk drawer, and sometimes I'll just trace a circle around an old lid. So just some helps now. Yes. So Amanda, my little crochet thing is one of the things. So my response is there. It's kind of little, but I thought I'd share. So in the very top of my heart, I talk about finding my worry worm. And y'all may remember, if you've been with me for a while, a couple years ago, my mom had a stroke and she fell and had a closed head injury on top of that. And she's very, very fragile, and it was very, very scary. And I was the do all the doctor things, right? And so I was with her for a long time, lots of follow-up appointments, all that stuff. And y'all, I went into a restroom of a medical facility, and this little guy was laying in a baggie with a note that said, "Are you worried?" It had a little sweet little poem, and said, "Take this if you need a reminder that there are people in the world that care for you." And it meant so much to me. So I wanted to share my little worry worm. So that was one of those kindnesses. I try to do that. I do quilted hearts, and I leave quilted hearts, on the gas station pump, hanging on a tree somewhere. And it's just this organization, kind of loose organization, and it's called I Found a Quilted Heart. It's got a little sticker on it that says I need a home. And I like to just leave hearts in the community. So I had been doing that for a couple of years, and then somebody left me a worry worm, and I was like, oh, to get that. Oh, it was great. Um, a couple of other things that I want to share with you just to help get your brain started. Y'all know I'm a retired educator, and I was an administrator of an early childhood program for over 20 years. And I had lots of families that were with me for years and years and years. And there's this one family Loved this family. They had 3 boys and then a surprise girl, and so, I had lots of their kids for many years, this span of years, and the mom's name was Jill, and she was so great because she would come in and go, "Okay, because I was a few steps ahead of her in my parenthood journey, and she would say, "Okay, you've got this boy and da da da, and here's what's happening with me. What would you do?" And so I was kind of a parent mentor to her. Well, fast forward, she ended up having kind of that role in her church, leading a Bible study for young moms. And out of the blue, years after I had last seen her, I received a text from her. And she just went on and on and on about just thanking me for being present and for being willing to invest in not only her and her family, but all the families. And oh my gosh, it just meant so much to me, that random act of kindness. So it's never too late to reach out to somebody that was from your past. um, things like just because flowers that come your way. I used to walk into my office after morning carpool and find a cup of coffee left there by a parent every now and then. Those small acts, never knew who it was, didn't matter. Random act of kindness, lovely, 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 meant so much that somebody had thought about me. When you stop and think about that, like they organized their morning to stop and get another coffee and then walk in and leave it for me. Somebody was thinking about me. It meant a lot. So think about both ways of giving and receiving and what's come your way. And then I think we're just going to light up the chat, share some of those beautiful moments. And I'll give you about 5 minutes to work on this prompt so you can set your page up as well. Let us know what you're doing this month. And I'll go back to that question while you work on this. I can't wait to hear some of your kindness. I'm loving this chat this morning. I feel badly if anybody watches this on the YouTube channel and they don't get to read all these beautiful stories that you've shared. And what I noticed, like Maggie said, oh, and I've been reminded when you start writing about these moments, which are really gratitude moments, it really does like start the trigger, right? It gets you going and then you think about this. Or if you were reading the chat, maybe someone posted something I had forgotten about Leanne had posted that, she received this box of gifts in the Nebraska box. And then that her memory made me remember like when I was a little bitty girl, I got all my cousins' hand-me-downs, and this box would show up on the front porch, and it was like, shopping. I was so excited to have these nice new clothes. They were a little more well off than we were, and it was just like, oh, my new clothes are here. So you reminded me of that. Thank you for sharing in the chat. So see, it'll just popcorn off of each other, those wonderful things. And so yeah, the ripple effect of memories for sure. So you may be thinking about this all week now that you've gotten going. So feel free to, respond and jot more things down that will bring you that joy, but also challenge yourself, to be like those folks who did those kindnesses to you. When that happens, Beth had shared a story of some food and not being 100% herself and just not wanting to eat, and her boyfriend was gonna get some good stuff, and then that meal got picked up by somebody, paid for by someone else, and so then that was like this serendipitous moment, like, to align to remind Beth how much she's loved by not just the people immediately in her life, but that the world, and so then we can get inspired to be those people too, so I love this. Yes, paying it forward. So thank y'all for sharing your stories in the chat. Oh, my heart's happy today. Well, we're going to continue our moments of gratitude by looking at our rosebud thorn reflection from this past week, and that would be found on page 30. We're going to kind of look at last week and be grateful for what it brought. It maybe, hopefully it brought you some roses, some happy, some good things, the things that went well, the things that you're proud of. It can be tiny, tiny. And then we've got the buds, those things that are, in the works or that you're looking forward to or that might come down the pipe for you. And this is the time of year where we can start feeling a lot of overwhelm from the holidays, but we can also embrace holiday season with that attitude of a bud about the things that might bloom from that. And then of course we have the thorns, and they're always there with us. But y'all, I found this graphic and it really made me think about, how we encourage each other to figure out, even though we had the thorn, what is the takeaway? What is our learning from that? And I thought that graphic was so good for that. That good reminder, it's happening for you, not to you. And so if we can reframe those thorns that way, oh, it's very, very powerful. So let me put on some music while you work on your rosebud thorn, and then we'll get on with the rest of our setup. All right. Thank you for sharing from your reflection over your past week. And remember that hopefully your thorns can be somewhat temporary and you'll be able to frame them out to see what the learnings are. Maybe they'll turn into buds for you with some new perspective. But there's a lot of power in being able to just write this stuff down and leave it on the page if you can. So thank you for sharing with us. So I'm going to invite you now to turn to pages 32 and 33, where we are going to do our setup. And I had mentioned earlier, you may already have your cadence and you know exactly what you're going to do, but you're here for that accountability piece of using your journal. But I'll also have some examples from Sonder family to share with you. Here's a couple. I always call this the show and tell page. It's just a couple of complete pages from y'all. Just that reminder that they're going to look different. You get to do what you want to do in your journal. I always say mine is very, black pen, very plain, very basic. But sometimes adding washi tape and stickers or just outlining with color can bring your page to life. You can see that we've got one person who the left example is setting up three major goals, and then they've got some to-dos there, and you drop down, you see their habit and activity tracker. They are setting a goal of every single day. They've put that number 7 there for those things to happen. Whereas the example on the right, they're not going to do goals. They sort of have this to-do list in that goal space, that permission to change things up as you need them, and they're creating a weekly bingo. And that weekly bingo just looked like it was a little more self-care focused, not just that to-do list of all the things that need to happen. It just some lovely things in there. And then we've got her habities. That was, Maya one day was talking really fast, our facilitator Maya, and she said habities instead of habit and activities. So this person's not setting a goal. They've just got the things they want to do. And you notice what they've written across the top of the tracker. It just says do your best. So also that reminder. So we're going to start off like, how do we want to feel this week? Love this quote, be kinder to yourself and then let that kindness flood the world. So think about how you want to frame out your week. Oh, Nicole, you're going to be immersed. I love that. Valued and healing. This is the time of year too where there's a lot of stuff going around. So there may be like wellness affiliated with how we want to feel this week. Here's that collection of different ways to embrace the feeling that you want for the week. Y'all are putting some great words there. Powerful, prepared, productive, engaged, sustained, harmony, accomplished, another harmony, optimistic, pain-free. Oh, Amanda, I hope you can figure out how to achieve that, because when physical health is not at its optimal, it affects everything else. Our health is so, so important and we forget. Carla's wanting to be very reflective and be able to release things, restored. Yes, Holly, we all need to be kinder to ourselves. And when it starts with us, then it really does ripple out. Happy, rested and organized, delighted. Y'all saw my thorn was I've gotten off on my nighttime sleeping routine, so I'm tired and I'm not the best I can be. So I'm hoping I've got my grandkids today and tomorrow, and they're spending the night, and I'm hoping that I can put myself to bed when I put them to bed tonight. So I'm going to try to get back on my rest and routines this week. Shift to aspirations and away from constant problem solving. Oh, Mary Ellen, the constant problem solving can be exhaustive, can it? You need to, yeah, take care of yourself. So now let's take those feeling words and jump into our 3 major goals. You've seen this before. I'm going to remind you, always check in with those intentions that you set to help guide your goals. Maybe you have a personal challenge this week. There's a lot of us just love to do categories. So we take those 3 categories. There's a little collection of them there. And then you kind of plug a goal in for each category. and then create 3 no goals that affect your life in a positive way. And y'all, this is the month of the year that I really do try to lean into what do I need to take off of my plate, to take out of my life because it's no longer serving me. And we frame that out through the month of November. What do we release and get rid of that's not serving us anymore? So, if you want to join me in embracing the idea of saying no in November, maybe start by going back to page 8 and look at that stop box. What did you write in there? And how does that inform your goals and your habits and activities for the week? So, yep. November. And that reminder that no is a complete sentence. And I am not telling you that I did that well in my life. I do it a little bit better now. But what it showed me when I can say no, because maybe my plate is too full, when I say no, my no could become a yes for someone else who really does need to do XYZ. So I love having the month of November to do that kind of reflection about, how do I keep the main things in my life. Um, oh, you haven't done, that's okay, Janine. Take notes. Be thinking maybe while you are working on this week, it will help you go back and look at intentions and your start, stop, and continue box. And you might be able to sort of pair those activities together so that you can complete that. And that's exactly, Amanda. We love sticky notes for that reason. I did want to call out about goals since we're looking at this goals section. We always want to make sure that our goals are as much framed around the SMART goal theory as possible because that helps us make things very specific. You know, um, Eating better is a great goal to have, but what does that look like when we get very specific? So, your goal could actually be instead of eating better, it could be add protein to my coffee every morning, right? You get very small, a small step to get you to that overriding goal. We want it measurable. We want it attainable. I always say this girl will never run a marathon. So, setting a goal of running a marathon isn't going to happen. So, we need to make sure that it's manageable given our personal parameters. We want to make sure it's relevant. Does it really feed your desires for your life, or is it a goal because it's coming from other sources? And then time bound. So, like for this week, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it twice a day, and I want it done by, so that by November I'm down 2 pounds or whatever. But we want to try to get end of, or by the end of 3 weeks, that kind of thing, make it time bound. When you can set your goals with those kinds of intentionalities, incorporating them, you're going to be more likely for them to be achieved. And also, speaking of like the big goal and micro goals, like really honing it down. There's some great examples of you have these big goals, but to get there, we break that into micro goals. So, if you wanted to read 25 books this year, then maybe you start reading for 5 minutes before bed. That becomes that habit. And see how small that is? It's broken down. You've got it tied to a time limit, that kind of stuff. Saving for a home, that's a big goal, but a micro goal of that would be every day I save X dollars, right? So we want to really hone in on those steps. Oh, no, you've got it. Well, then, Amanda, Atomic Habits needs to go on your Christmas list if you can't find it. um, okay, so back to the November, here's like some ways to frame out your goals or your to-dos this week. The things you want to stop, the things you're going to say no to that you're not going to do. I'll go back through all of these while you're working on this page. There's that idea of a personal challenge for the week. So kind of their feeling word is driving driving their goals. And then there's all those different categories, some really great examples of that. We've got a lot of folks who just love the mind, body, spirit or mind, body, soul, because that really does fit beautifully into, being our best selves when we're addressing those things within. But you can see like the bottom middle is professional, mind, and body. So it's about taking what you need. And then here are some examples of goals informing the to-dos. And so here's that another example of, you can see on the right, the weekly to-dos have been turned into or in the goal space, and then that fall bingo of taking care of themselves or doing some fun things. So again, some other just like little lovely things that are happening in that to-do space, the bingo box. The one that you can so you see some mini trackers on the two on the left. There's like some mini daily trackers, check-ins there. And then the one that's on the bottom right, I wanted to point this out because you're going to see some ways that these two spaces drive some other things in their week. So the three major goals are there. And then the to-dos is a to-do box. And we've got plan and prioritize work, plan and prioritize home chores, plan and prioritize personal stuff, and then creative time. They want to do like their second goal is 8 hours. So again, tied to that time frame to recreation and rejuvenation. And then they've got plan and prioritize creative time, um plan and prioritize active self-care. So kind of notice that, because I'm going to show you some other places that that shows up in this person's journal for them. And then of course, again, some more repurposing. You don't have to use this space for goals. This is a great place to put rhythms and routines, to do bingo boards, just to have self-love reminders. That one on the bottom middle, again, talking about that kindness to self. Maybe that's what needs to happen for you. Your goal is, your one big goal is self-love, and then you do some reminders there. And then we'll look at those to-dos. Don't forget to include yourself on the list of things to take care of this week. And then you guys have seen these before. These are former examples that I've used, but we've got, broken down into ways that are manageable for these people. I always love the to-do box with with stickers instead of making that list, and then dividing it out into different areas is a good way to do that. And then we can also repurpose this space. We can make it a to-be list. Maybe it's a to-don't list if you're going to embrace November. Oftentimes this space is my to-do list, where I just go back and write the things I got done. You can see the example of how someone is doing these little boxes for different areas in their life, the calls they need to make, the follow-ups that need to happen, the things they need to schedule. And then our habit and activity tracker, we're going to drop down to the bottom of the page for that. Then I'll go back through all of these slides while you do this page. Good reminder on that graphic, what you pour in is what pours out. So fill yourself with good. So lots of ways to set your habit and activity tracker, including maybe not doing your habit and activity tracker. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed, maybe you haven't done your November monthly part. Perhaps you put your focus into those monthly setup pages and take a break from the habit and activity tracker, like that one you see in the middle row over to the left. Just take a break. The one at the very top left corner, their goal is tied to a time. So they are assigning 10 minutes of mindful meditation, 30 minutes for job searching. So tying it again into the time constraint, and then just checking off. You can set the number of times you want something to happen, like the one you see up at the upper middle one, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, kind of a countdown, making that fun. You can circle the days you need things to happen, and that way that's kind of reminding you, oh, it's Wednesday, it's time for me to do my strength training. So lots of different ways you can do, five activities here. You can do one activity in this space. So remember the one I pointed out to you where Goals and to-dos were tied together. Well, I want you to revisit the to-do box that you see there, and then look at how they're holding themselves accountable through their habit and activity tracker. So they're asking themselves this question: did I plan and prioritize my responsibilities and my responsibilities? And they're just answering yes or no. So a Y or an N goes in that box, the circle. The next one, did I plan and prioritize my recreation and rejuvenation? So they had all of those ideas from their goals and their to-dos, and they brought this accountability piece into their habit and activity tracker. So I thought that was a really, really good idea. The one that's kind of in the upper right there, same sort of thing. Rise early and conquer, movement, read, rest. So those are like those priorities. Okay. And yeah, so let's work on this page. I'll go back through all of these, grab screenshots if you saw anything you need or you liked, and then let us know, do you change anything up? If you do, how are you using these spaces? And what is going to go in your 3 goals this week? How do you need support? And if you are having trouble maybe thinking about how to frame something out, drop that in the chat and let's use our Sonder family to guide us along that way. Alrighty. Let's see. There was some conversation in the chat about like decluttering and getting rid of things that are sentimental. And Maggie, you made me think of a tip that somebody told me about for like children's artwork because my refrigerator's covered with the grand stuff. I did the same thing with my kids. And someone had talked about just take a photo of it and then make a photo album, like a coffee table book of art. of the kids' art, but you could do that with some of these sentimental items, right? Like take photographs, journal, write about that, and perhaps then send that off and make a little collection of some of those things. That's a great way to declutter, but still kind of hang on to the visual piece of that thing, even as we try to get rid of things, because it is hard. So some of us are attached to inanimate objects and we don't want to hurt their feelings if we if we throw them away. I get that. And you clean out houses and then, all of a sudden you needed that one thing, right? That's also tricky. So anyhow, maybe that's a little helpful, but I think a lot of us feel you. Um Alrighty, so now we're going to look at our page 2. And so we can look at our goals for the week and those habits and activities and the to-dos, and maybe we can figure out how they can show up through this page, right? Maybe some of the things can be put into our self-care areas. So here's 2 more show and tells of pages from our Sonder family. And I think last week I shared this like incomplete pumpkin, and then as things happened, you colored it in and you made this pumpkin. You could do this with anything. So someone took that idea and incorporated it in their mind body health plan there. You can see. So as maybe a couple of these things are done, you color it in just to make it fun and gamify it. We also repurpose lots of these spaces are great for repurposing. So if you repurpose anything, we want to know about that and what's going in there. But the examples I'm going to show you really could go, like I'm going to show you some meal plans, but the things that are on that meal plan, maybe you choose to put over in your shopping list. Or maybe things you see in the Mind Body Health Plan, you decide to put in the meal plan section. So this is a very versatile page. I love the one over there on the right. They're doing a best part of the day, worst part of the day reflection, and then it looks like they're rating their day on a scale of 1 to 8 using the water droplets. So that repurposing of the water droplets, I always love when y'all get creative and think of ways to do that. And then we've got in the shopping list a less of something like what am I saying no to, and kind of pairing that with what I'll embrace once I say no to that. So that less and more idea of duality. So yeah, as we're going through these examples, let us know if you're repurposing the spaces and what goes in your meal plan, if it's not a meal plan, or how you use your shopping list, that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, for sure. Brandy, I love that. So she's using it to record the foods that she had for breakfast and dinner and for that accountability piece. But a dollar sign if she ate out. That's a really good way of seeing like oh, I didn't realize I ate out 5 times this week. Um, we've got some, lots of different examples here. Cleaning plan, word of the day, just a weekly plan. A good place for a symptom tracker is this meal plan space. Christine says she's doing glimmers and her small acts of kindness, really embracing the theme in her meal plan. That's a good idea. Um, the journal here again, we love the post-it notes. You write your little reflection question on the front and the answer on underneath the post-it notes. So I think that's a really good idea. We've got a self-care plan, quotes and stickers. Someone's going to be looking at the 7 types of rest and leaning into a rest a day. Let's see here, the mind body health plan. I always say this is the selfish space for me. It's how are you going to take care of yourself? So, y'all are dropping some really great ideas in their daily gratitude journal, moment of kindness records. So, again, that way to embrace our theme. Here's some fun mind body health plan situations that we have. Some I like trackers and little spaces. So I think that's a really neat way to do that. You can see the one in the upper right there. They're reading a book, daily ritual, affirmation, and then this check off to make sure they've done it all. And then the one that's on the bottom right is really like putting that reminder of go incorporate your intentions that you set for the month there. Lots of folks will put their body plan, for how they're going to move their body this week. And then remember, we looked at the pages of, how the habits and activities then informed, or I'm sorry, the goals and the to-dos informed the habits, and there was that accountability tracker. Well, the one in the middle there's the mind body health. That's how they were going to prioritize their self-care. So they incorporated the mind body health plan that way. I love how was I brave today? They left sort of a little daily response there, the one on the bottom right. And then we've got like a word cloud of wonderful ways to take care of ourselves in the upper right. Alrighty, you're going to see the Hygge challenge, the HYGGE, because it's wintering time. It's time to get cold and cozy and do all the slower wintering kinds of things. So you might want to grab screenshots or snap a photo of this, or remember that it's going to be in the recording. These are just ways to slow ourselves down, to be cozy, to say no to taking on too much. I think wintering is that good reminder. It's time to slow our bodies down and embrace the season. Some more inspiration for how you frame out these pages through either intentions, mini gratitude reflections. So again, grab a screenshot if something speaks to you, and I'll go back through these while you're working on it. Always love seeing a quote of the week there. Look at the recreation and rejuvenation. There's that little mini bingo board that can be tied back into those goals and habits and activities and the to-do list from that example I showed you earlier. Um, Lots of us have kind of embraced the idea of the mustard, ketchup, and mayo list, where you have your things that must happen, your mustards, your ketchup are the things that were undone and you want to catch up on them. And your mayo are the things that are on the list. You may do them, you may not. You're giving yourself permission to do that. And then the pick one, that's sort of a fun thing to, you put a couple of fun things on there. Shopping list, buy or don't buy. Love that. That reminder of what you have. Um, Y'all, with the financial stuff the way it is now, look at that food available list. So took an inventory, understanding what I already have, making a plan. This can be a really money maker, right? A really or money saver. Plan a space to do that. Go see what you got. I told my husband we got to quit collecting food in the freezer. We need to just eat it up. I always love bingos. I always love bingos. I love gamifying. So you can see several examples there. If you're a birthday person, make yourself a birthday bingo and just give yourself a lot of extra love and fun this week. And then finally, what are you loving? We'd love to know that. Share that in the chat. And let me put on some music. I'm going to go back through all these slides. Grab screenshots if you see something that speaks to you. And then again, keep sharing kind of what you're thinking about putting in this space. oftentimes I can just honestly say I'm loving Mondays with the Sonder family. It was so good to see you all today. Thank you for starting your week with your people, with your community, with the kindest people you know. We would love to see any part of your setup in Sonder Club. Let us know if you change anything. Go post that or post it on your own Instagram and tag at Silk and Sonder, and you might see it on the actual headquarters Silk and Sonder Instagram stories. That would be fun. But I'm so glad. You know what, Janine? It's okay. Writing down how you feel, that's a start. It's a step. And y'all be gentle with yourselves. Take your time with your journal. Nobody's grading this. And so if you get like half the week done, then that's you're half the week ahead of, just do what you can do. But yeah, it was so good to see you all. And we've got lots of great socials coming up this month for our month of kindness. So I hope to see you there. And again, thanks for carving out the time with Jen and with me this morning. Team Jennifer, we loved starting the week with y'all. We'll see you soon. Make it a good one and be kind.
I love me. I love me. I don't know about you, but baby, I love me. Now everybody say, oh, I love me. I love me.
They gon' say all kinds of things. They'll make jokes about my name. They gon' try to clip my wings, but I'm gon' fly. They'll try to play me like a game. I bet they're too scared of the fame. But I can see it clear when I'm looking in the mirror saying, God made me just right.
I love me. I love me. I don't know about you, but baby, I